Yo, peep this. You clicked on Let's View It, and I'm Tyrone Cross, and I love to react to videos. What can I say? Man, before I get into this video, I just want to say I hope everyone had a good, fun Halloween, because I know me and my family did, so. But now, let's get to the nitty and to the gritty. I randomly came across this video that was just so damn ignorant. It was titled, "Why Do Black Men Push People on Subway Tracks?" And at first I was like, this gotta be clickbait, right? No, there's no way in hell there's a real video about why black people push people onto subway tracks. Like, when has this ever been a problem that black people want to push people on the subway tracks? So with that being said, I clicked on the video, and what I came across was one of the most blatantly racist videos I have ever seen. I have no idea why the YouTube algorithms would give me this video, but let's get into this video, and I'll let you guys witness me just dissect and expose this racist for what he is. So you already know, let's view it.
Police releasing surveillance video of the suspect who violently pushed a man onto the tracks of a Brooklyn subway station at Wyckoff and Myrtle Avenues.
41-year-old McCrae is a career criminal with more than 30 arrests, many for violent crimes, including attempted murder.
61-year-old.
So you can already see Mr. Reagan starting. It's so appropriate that his channel is called Mr. Reagan, by the way. Is starting his video with propaganda from the news, depicting black people who have recently shoved people onto subway tracks. This is his way of trying to get to mold the viewers' minds already to agree to what he's saying by burning these images into their head already.
Simon Marshall was unrepentant as police led him out of Midtown Precinct South, admitting to reporters that he pushed 40-year-old Michelle Alyssa Go to her death.
The second time, police say he followed through and pushed the victim off the platform onto the tracks.
This stranger practically puts her in a bear hug and tosses her onto the train tracks as though she's just a sack of potatoes.
There have been 22 people shoved onto the tracks this year compared to 21 last year.
Mr. Reagan.
All right, now recently there was this big news story about a guy who pushed a man on.
Okay, right away, there's some red flags with him. Let me share these with you guys so you know to notice these red flags whenever you're associating with anyone. First, you got the button-up collar shirt, followed up with the slick back hair. I call these dudes slick backs. They're hustlers, they're manipulators, they're liars and deceivers. Who usually have the slick back? Car salesmen, lawyers, anybody trying to convince you to trust them, basically. And right now, I'm looking at a slick back. Let's get back into it.
The train tracks, the subway tracks in New York City. And this is a common story. I've heard of this happening many, many times over the last few years in New York. Just guys are getting pushed onto the subway tracks. Women are being pushed in front of trains. You know, I've heard of people being killed because of this, obviously. Sometimes they're just pushed onto the tracks. But it's almost like an epidemic. It's like this weird trend that we seem to be living through by these.
So already he's not speaking facts. He's saying, I've heard of these stories. And then he says a few stories over the years. So a few stories over years, is that 1 or 2 stories a year? And then he has the nerve to call it an epidemic. Yeah, like people are getting pushed on these tracks daily.
Like crazy New Yorkers. And I've heard this story countless times on various news networks. I've heard about it on Fox. I've seen it on YouTube videos from local news networks, things like that. And never once do they mention the race of the perpetrators. And here's the thing. I mean, I kind of understand that, right? The thinking is that, well, does the race really matter of these people? They're bad people and they're committing these, vicious acts of violence. But there does seem to be a pattern here. I have never heard of anyone from any other demographic category committing this crime. It's only black men. That is it.
Has he researched this? He keeps saying, I've only heard. So either you're saying the stories that you heard have only been of black men, so it must only be black men, or has he actually put out the effort to find out if it's only black men? Well, first, he mentions that in these train pushing incidences, that race is never mentioned. So what exactly about these incidences made him want to go figure out what race was doing it? Is he a train pushing expert? Does he want to put an end to all train pushing violence? Also, he said, I never heard of a story other than black men pushing people onto train tracks. What does that mean? That the story that was either verbally told to you or that popped up in front of your face had a black person involved? Or did you go look to see, in fact, if there are other stories involving other races pushing people in front of trains? Matter of fact, not even other races, because he says black men specifically. Only black men have ever done this. This is what the slickback said. Now watch me get him. Check this out. First of all, here's an article, right? Subway shoves in NYC exceed number of incidences compared to last year. It's an epidemic, right? This is a growing problem and we need to get it under control. So here it goes. A total of 22 people have been shoved in a subway system as of October 16th. So you got 22 people shoved. Last year, the city tallied a grand total of 21 subway shoves as of October 16th. One person increase in a whole year. One extra person has been shoved in front of a subway. I ain't saying you should shove anyone in front of a subway, but I'm just talking about the topic at hand, which is the epidemic of subway shoving going on by black men. Now let's get them some more. Let's check out these articles. Okay, so this is deeply unsettling stories of people pushed in front of approaching trains. Now let's just go down just to see what we got here. Schizophrenic woman murders stranger with subway push. Woman, not man. If this is the suspect, which I'm not sure, it would be a black woman, so at least he'd be half right in that case. So let's just keep scrolling down. A woman commits a hate crime as revenge for 9/11. In late 2012, Erica Menendez pushed Sanadu something onto an elevated subway platform in Queens. Erica Menendez, that doesn't even sound like a black name. So now you got a female and most likely ain't even black. So he's 100% wrong there. Let's see here. Let's keep going. Jilted lover pushes woman. This is in Mexico City. Probably was a Mexican. And then I got this. Let's check this out. The girl, in the end of the day, she was all right. But somebody does get pushed onto the track, just to let you know. This is man right here. Comes up behind her. In your opinion, does this look like a black man? I didn't think so. Now those I just found in like 10 minutes. So right away, the premise of his whole damn video is false and a lie. But we're going to continue on to let Mr. Slickback make himself look like a jackass.
Black men are committing these crimes and no one else. The question becomes...
And no one else, guys. Black men... Let's rewind that because he sounds like such an idiot. I want to hear it again. It's just, how can anyone be that dumb?
It's only black men. That is it. Black men are committing these crimes and no one else. The question becomes, at what point do you recognize the pattern here? Is it after 1,000 pushes? Is it after 10,000 pushes? At what point do you go
1,000 pushes? Didn't we just go over there was 22 pushes this year so far and 21 pushes last year? That's 43 pushes in 2 years. But he's talking about thousands. What is this thousands? You couldn't even find a different race or gender in the suspects within the few that I just found, but you need thousands of pushes that don't even probably exist. And if they do, there clearly it would be really hard to get a record of this. Let's just continue.
Okay, the only people pushing people onto train tracks here are black men.
He says it again, doubles down, triples down. The only people who push people onto train tracks are black men. But I just proved that he's lying, that he's wrong.
So this is not a problem of New Yorkers or criminals generally. This is a problem with black men in New York. Why are black men in New York pushing people onto train tracks all the time? It's kind of weird, right? And I'll be honest, I don't.
It's not all the time. Didn't we just go over the statistics? What is all the time nowadays? There have only been 48 deaths due to train tracks or train accidents since 2016. And not all of those are murders. That's including accidents and suicides. But he's claiming black men always push people on the train tracks. He would have been more on point if he was talking about black men shooting people in Detroit than pushing people on the train tracks. It's not killing people. 48 people died since 2016, including murders, accidents, and suicides. 48.
But at the end of the day, the point really is, and the reason I'm making this video is we have to stop pretending that these are just random criminals, that these are just criminals of whatever type. Maybe they're women, maybe they're white people, maybe they're Muslims. No. These are black men specifically that are committing these crimes. And so the question is,
why is he saying, first of all, what is his passion about train track pushing? That he thinks that it's a problem in this world that he needs to go and fix. He cares so much of this problem that he wants to fix it so bad that he wasn't even able to find a different race or gender that has done it. But I did, and I don't even give a shit about the topic. Damn, slick back.
How do we combat this problem? And of course, I do have a few suggestions about how, as a society, we deal with this moving forward.
Please tell us, save us from the train track pushing that's destroying our society. Damn, slick bag.
Because this is not sustainable. We cannot allow crazy black guys in our society to be running around murdering people at random for the absurd reasons that we do allow that to happen. And I actually believe that we have...
This guy is the most racist guy. Well, I'm not going to say he's the most racist, but he's clearly 100% racist, whether he realizes it or not. We shouldn't let crazy black, white, Puerto Rican, Asian, anybody running around killing anybody. What is he talking about? What is he talking about? And on top of that, he's talking about a problem that's not a problem. Slick back.
Terminated this problem. We have kind of created this problem as a society, and it's really our own fault. Well, it's really the fault of the left.
So he's racist because of the left? Slick back.
Why are black men beating people up on the subway? And more specifically, why are black men pushing people onto train tracks? So some people on the left kind of pretend like this is just criminal justice reform generally speaking. But a lot of other people on the left are very open about why they want to reform the criminal justice system. And the reason that they cite for this is equity. It's this idea that because of historical inequity, historical marginalization, whatever, oppression of certain groups, particularly black Americans, and also because of the systemic racism inherent in the judicial system, that black men are targeted more than any other group for going, to go to prison, to be prosecuted, and to be arrested, and to go to prison. And the idea that, well, actually, black men are just committing more crimes, that's just dismissed as a possibility. Well, no, that's not true. It couldn't be possible that black men are just committing more crimes. No. It's that police target them, they arrest them more often, they're prosecuted more often, and they go to prison more often. But of course, this is ridiculous. Of course, black men in America commit far more crimes than any other demographic group. Everybody knows that. The FBI statistics support that. I mean, black men...
Statistics. This slick back wants to sit up here and sound like he's so smart. And they do the statistics. The statistics, you want to talk about statistics? Do you have a statistic? First of all, and this is to every white person that doesn't understand how black people are brought up. The first thing you need to understand when it comes to your statistics and your police reports and stuff like that, is that black people are brought up not to call the cops. White people love calling the cops. They'll call the cops because you're on their front lawn. It's a different culture. We don't have that trust. We don't want them that close to us. So we naturally don't call the cops. So do you have a statistic on who is pressing charges and who is not pressing charges? Do you have a statistic on whose records are expunged and whose records are not expunged? So maybe you don't know that they have a criminal violent history? Do you have a statistic on how many of these charges have been reduced or how many have got off of the charges even though they did it because they had great lawyers? Do you have those statistics? You don't have nothing. You're just a slick back. You're just a racist slickback that's trying to prove that he's not racist by being racist.
Commit more crime, specifically more violent crime. And so, look, if somebody commits a crime and...
Specifically more violent crime, that's definitely probably not true. And I know definitely and probably don't go together. But what I'm saying is that's not true. I can tell you that on average, that's not true. Black people are involved with a lot of gun violence and killing other black people. But the other races out here, the Jeffrey Dahmers, the Gracies of the world, the Ed Geins of the world, those dudes that did Emmett Till the way they did them, those that don't know that story, check out Emmett Till's story. Those crimes are 100 times more violent than pushing someone onto train tracks or just shooting them. Although, yes, the end result is death, but he's saying more violent, more gruesome. He's a slickback, and he doesn't know what he's talking about.
We need to remove them from society. Then we need to remove them from society. You can't take race into account here. It's just they're a bad person. They need to be put away, right? That's it. That is it. So if you go,
we do put people away who push people on the tracks and kill them. What is he talking about? He's just a racist, and he's trying to figure out a way again to somehow make black people look bad, I guess.
This crime coming from black men in America, specifically violent crime, and you need to fix that. Well, in order to fix that, you need to figure out why it's happening. What happens when you let violent criminals out of prison just because they're black? Well, then you have all of this crime being committed by black men. There's a number of problems with this. First of all, do we really want...
Isn't that the same problem you have no matter what race of criminal you let out of prison?
You want to put violent criminals back in prison, or keep them in prison. You want to keep them away from the general public. You want to stop them from hurting other people. And who are the people they're most likely going to hurt? It's other black people, because typically criminals target innocent victims within their own community. So the people that are going to be hurt the most by these bad black men are good black men, or good black grandmothers, or good black women, or whatever it is, children maybe. You're going to hurt more black people by allowing black criminals out of prison. It's like these people don't understand. But
I'm going to give him credit when he says something right. We do mainly hurt black people because you tend to hurt whoever's in your community. But with that being said, the only reason why he's trying to bring up like this, I'm trying to also say the good black people speech, is because he has to mention the fact that there's good black people in order to even have an argument at this point that he's not a racist. But ain't working on me, you slick back.
I think a lot of people on the left think, Americans perceive black men as violent, but they're not really. Well, what's going to happen when you continue to imprison the white criminals, you continue to imprison the Hispanic criminals, you continue to imprison the Asian criminals, although there's very few Asian criminals, but you understand what I mean. But you let all the black criminals out. What happens then? Well, then we see, not only do then black men commit far more crime than most other people, but we've let all of the black criminals out of prison, and so you've got this inordinate amount of crime coming from black men specifically. So then you are actually...
Why does he keep saying black men commit more crime? There's no way that he can prove that. I've already went over how crooked everything is. For instance, if you're a black person and you make a couple $100,000 dealing drugs, then you're a criminal for making tax-free money. But if you're a multi-billionaire, a millionaire, and a CEO, and you commit $50 million in tax fraud, you're a criminal, an even bigger one. but it's so easy to just disregard your own wrongdoings.
Reinforcing this perception that Americans have that black men are violent. You're doing a disservice to all the good black men in America, right? I mean, the whole idea of just letting black men out of prison just because they're black. I mean, what is wrong with Democrats? They're just insane, right? But then, okay, you got another question is, why are these black men so violently attacking people at random on the subway? Like, I can kind of understand, like, if they're trying to steal something from somebody. I can kind of understand if they're in some kind of domestic dispute, right? I understand all these situations.
Okay, Slickback. The ones that are just random and just for nothing at all, they're usually because they're mentally ill. And it's still not only black men. What's wrong with this racist Slickback? I mean, is he just trolling?
Why would a black man go to a random white woman and just physically attack her on the subway? They don't have any idea who this woman is. They just attack her. Why did they do this? Well, I think that this is to some degree because of leftist brainwashing. Leftists brainwash black men into resenting society in general and resenting white people specifically.
You know what? He's right. Fuck society and fuck my girlfriend. Why the hell is this white Slickback speaking for black people? We can't have his color skin or his haircut.
Right? You do find that when some of these black men are interviewed after they commit these heinous violent crimes, they'll say, well, you know, white people are evil. I hate white people. I want to kill white people, this kind of thing. But also just general society. A lot of black men will say, well, society is just horrible. Society is evil to black men. They hurt black people. They're racist against black people, and therefore we have to strike back at society.
This guy is just sitting here trying to brainwash all of his viewers, which is like 390K or something, is listening to this babbling garbage. Yeah, society does suck, and it is evil on a whole level that has nothing to do with race. It has to do with God versus the devil. And yes, there is racism too, but look, this whole time, he's either been lying or exaggerating. That's all he's done this whole video. As I pointed out from the beginning, he's been a liar straight out the gate.
So you've got this resentment that's built up within black American culture by Democrats. Now, why would Democrats do this? Because it's all about the power in Washington, D.C. Democrats, and in local governments as well. Democrats believe they should be in power. Whether that's a selfish act or that's a genuine altruistic belief, which it almost never is.
I'm not political, but wouldn't a Republican want to be in power too? Ain't that the whole point of having the two sides and votes, because you're trying to vote who's in power? What the hell's going on? My mind hurts.
And one of the ways that they remain in power is they get black people to vote for them. And the way they get black people to vote for them is they say, Republicans are racist against you, society in general is against you, and we will help you to overcome that. And they keep reinforcing that message over and over again to black Americans. You're oppressed, society did it to you, and Democrats will fight for you against that oppression. Systemic racism, they call it, right? And they constantly brainwash black Americans into believing this. Well,
who hired this guy? If you want black people to think that they're not oppressed and there's no racism, why would you pick the biggest racist to spread this message?
Of course, some of the crazier black men in society are going to act out violently because of this. If they truly believe it, they're going to act out violently against it. I mean, it makes total sense, right? If society is unjustly oppressing you your entire life, and your life basically sucks, and you hate it, and you hate the world, and you hate society for it, and you're already a little bit crazy, and you have violent tendencies, you're probably going to lash out against society.
Wow. You're probably already a little bit crazy and have violent tendencies. Why do they have violent tendencies, Mr. Not Racist Slickback? And also, I thought society was on a new junction where we hate white males and make them feel like they're all racist. So since they think society is against them, shouldn't they be the one that's lashing out more violently? Mr. Slickback, don't make no damn sense, man.
So Democrats are engendering this violence from black men throughout the country, but obviously in regions in which there are a lot of black men, you're going to get more of this, like places like New York City. Another question is, do black men have a genetic predisposition toward violence more than, say, other groups? Now, this is a very taboo question. You're not allowed to talk about race as if there are any kind of differences whatsoever, but specifically, are black people genetically predisposed to violence? You cannot ask that, right? Here's the thing about that. I think that's possible. I think it is possible that black people are more prone to violence than white people.
You notice how he looks in the air when he says this? Because he's uncomfortable, he knows he's full of shit, and he's a racist slickback. First of all, how can you say, I believe black people are prone or predisposed or genetically, whatever, more inclined to being violent? Does he not know Americans' history? Who were the slave owners? Do you think that they just gave us pedicures and manicures? Jackass. If you were just to go off of that logic alone, you would have to say white people are the more violent people, right? And I'm not even going to say that. I'm just saying off of your dumbass logic and actually what history has shown us, it would be you, slickback.
I don't know for sure. I mean, I'm not a geneticist, and I can't tell you for sure. I have read a couple of things that indicate that there is some kind of genetic evidence for this. But the reason I believe
he's so stupid.
When I was a kid, I was actually kind of a violent kid, right? I had a temper. I would get very angry, and I would physically fight kids that would tease me or try to bully me or something like that. I would stand up to them. I would physically fight them. And when I was a kid, this was actually considered a very bad thing. You know, when I was in elementary school, I would get into really big trouble for getting into fights all the time.
Everyone thinks getting into fights and being a bully is a bad thing. What is this dude smoking? I want some.
I believe very strongly that comes from my Scottish side. My mom didn't really hit us, really, but she did hit inanimate objects.
That's the problem.
And, you know, some people might say, well, but the Holocaust, you know, Germans are really violent. I think there's a big difference between the decision to go to war or to commit some kind of other horrendous societal act and, you know, physical violence that you have in a one-on-one confrontation.
Okay, off of that logic, during the Holocaust or even around those times after, I'm sure, Germans probably treated Jews like shit one-on-one when they met up on the street. Just like after slavery, since he doesn't want to do the whole organizational thing, because that's probably what he wants to avoid really is slavery talk. Well, after slavery, there was a lot of one-on-one violence with the Jim Crow and stuff. So you're still full of shit, slickback.
But the point I'm trying to make here is that
you're a racist.
And I've written this on my Twitter account. You know, I've written, you know, is the problem with black crime in America, is that caused by culture or is that caused by genetics? And almost everybody said culture. And I totally respect that. And I think it could be totally 100% culture. But if so, if it is 100% culture, then we need to look at those cultural reasons why black people are so ready to act out violently in America. But if it is genetic, then we should figure out ways to address that.
He's a slickback. He's so damn manipulative. Yeah, you tweet, are black people, whatever he said, right? Are black people violent because of culture or environment? Why didn't you tweet, are black people more violent than any other race? You don't even give the choice of black people not being violent. Slickback.
I definitely do not hate black people, right? Trust me, I don't have any issue with black people generally. If you're black,
don't trust slickbacks. Just like I said in the beginning, this will help you throughout life for many, many, many years to come, hopefully, if you live long enough.
I'm not gonna be like, I don't want to be friends with you because you're violent and dumb, or you know.
That is the reason to not be friends with someone, because they're violent and dumb. Oh. Oh, sorry. Is this guy for real? And he thinks he's so smart. You ran into the wrong one.
You tend to give them the benefit of the doubt, you know, as a human being, right? They're a human being, and you shake their hand and you chat with them until they prove that they're completely awesome and worthy of your admiration, or a complete degenerate and worthy of your scorn, right? this is the way that you should interact with people individually, no matter what culture they're from, no matter what race they are. But
worthy of your admiration? How about just respect? Damn. You don't need to admire someone. Just respect them and know that they have value to somebody in this world, hopefully.
Because it is an ugly conversation. Like, what if black people do have a genetic disposition toward violence, right? What if that's true?
That would be like his dream come true to find that out, wouldn't it?
The problem with Democrats is that they say, oh, well, then white people will all suddenly become racist. We'll all go run to our closets and grab our white hoods and start lynching black people because we just automatically will just assume, well, black people are inferior. Okay. It's never going to happen. All right.
Does he mean it's never going to happen again? What the hell?
I am not racist against Scottish people. Okay, I think Scottish people are cool. Like I think the Scottish accent is cool. I think Scottish culture is cool. I am 1/4 Scottish, and I respect that history, right? In terms of my genetics, right? I love it. I think it's a very cool culture, and so I don't have any kind of bias against it. Of course
you don't. It's your culture, you jackass. That is just what a racist slickback would say. Like, I don't hate your culture because I'm not racist towards my culture. Good point, Slickback. Good point.
What's going on in the subways right now with black New Yorkers, black men in New York, pushing people onto train tracks is so vicious and so nasty and so clearly a problem with specifically crazy black men in New York City.
A huge problem. Like crazy. People are bloop, 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 like dominoes onto those subway tracks. Just black people just line them up. Bloop, 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 bloop. That's our new world order plan. That's how black people are going to take over the world. Fucking Slickback.
I do think it needs to be addressed in a way, like specifically targeting that group in some way.
He wants to target us in some way. So we stopped shoving people on railroad tracks. I liked it better when they thought we were drug dealers and gang bangers and just ball players. But now we're track pushers.
Right? Because there's a lot of good black men. And so you sit there and you say, oh, we got to...
Again, he has to drop another good black man to prove he's not a racist.
Target black men in New York as the perpetrators of these crimes. Well, then you're lumping in a lot of good black men with these very, very few crazies. But like that's the ugly reality is that it's only black men doing it. And so yeah, we do have to kind of target black men and say, like, how do we address this in this particular group? We just have to. I mean, it's time, folks. It's time we started like stopping this pretense that, oh, it's just general criminals. No, it's specifically black men. And
it's time. It's time to make our subways great again.
I would like to say this as well. Pushing people onto train tracks into that sort of like, I don't know what you call it, cavity where you have the train tracks. That is like one of the most cowardly violent acts you can commit. Because what do these guys do? They push you onto the train track. You break your collarbone, you break your arm, you could potentially break your neck. You could potentially get hit by a train and killed. I mean, you could potentially just get up, couple of scratches and bruises and like you're fine. But any way you cut it, this is an act of violence.
So apparently this guy has never heard of rape or child molestation. No. Pushing someone onto the subway tracks is the most cowardice and heinous crime you can commit. The only reason why he's saying that is because he thinks only black men do it. So to him, it's the worst thing that can ever be done because he's a racist slickback. But being a pedophile, right? That's not worse. And oh, by the way, what do you think the number one race is when it comes to being a pedophile? But he doesn't want to talk about that crime, right? Because that crime is actually too real and actually is huge in America. And not only 22 people as of this year have been molested. Basically, he's localizing an area, right? Which he's choosing New York. And then he's localizing that even more when he chooses subway stations, right? And I imagine in subways, it would probably be more lower income people that take it. There's a lot of crazy people down there. I'm assuming if you're worth a lot of money, you're not probably down there very often. That's my thought. They've already been known not to be safe. But just for a premise for you guys to know, I live in a white suburb that's literally like 98% white people. So in no way, shape, or form Am I one of those people who are like, oh, white people are racist? I don't believe that at all. Like I said, I mainly live around white people and I'm fine. I'm happy. I'm not saying there's not racism, but definitely more not racist white people than there are racist white people. I will say that. Now, with that being said, I could do the same thing. That's like me going to the high school at this city and saying, why does it seem like at such and such high school, it's only white males that are starting the fights? We need to get to the bottom of this. I mean, are they genetically predisposed to be more violent towards people in high schools? This is a serious issue and we shouldn't have to dance around it. And I'm not trying to be racist, but white people are very violent at the high school. You see what I'm saying? You can do this with anything. That's just one tiny example of something. It doesn't even have to be violence. It could be drugs. It could be prostitution. It could even be being a police officer. It could be careers. You can do that type of shit with anything. So I hope that all of his almost damn 400K viewers or whatever ain't falling for this slick back bullshit. He's sitting there trying to sound smart. He needs to button up his shirt. He probably waxes his chest and then he slicks back his hair and says, trust all the bullshit that I'm going to say. Even though right out the gate, I showed you that his whole video is based off a lie that he just wanted to believe and obviously didn't put any effort into doing any research to look up if any of that's true. And yes, some of those cases that I found, they were like out of the country. But the point being is, if it's a race thing, if this is a genetic thing, even in London, even in Tokyo, it would still be black people pushing them. He just chose, I'm assuming, where there's a lot of black people and a lot of mentally ill black people in the subway of New York. And it doesn't even happen a lot. All he's trying to do is manipulate people into thinking that black people are violent again and starting this whole thing all over again. But I honestly think that hopefully most of us are smarter than this by now and won't fall for his slick back crap. Anyways, that's the video I wanted to bring to you. Sorry it's a little long, but this guy was just so dumb. You know what I mean? And if you know what I mean, please hit the bell like the hunchback, click that hitchhiker button, and sub-ride with me. And I'll see you on the next trip. Day and night.
Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.
All my life.
Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.
Can't help
Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.
That's why
Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.